Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tarot by Hillary Live, or whatever we call this live stream. At this point, I don't feel like it's a very creative name, but that's what it is. I'm Tarot by Hillary. We're live. You know, we do this every week. So I am Hillary, professional tarot reader and EFT practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. We all have intuition, and you do too. That is my firmly held belief. I don't know if our guest tonight agrees with me. I'm pretty sure she does. We've talked about some stuff before, but I think that tarot is a wonderful tool towards what you already have, which is your intuition. It's a way of getting into your intuition. So, yes, we have a guest. We have a guest tonight. We are still going to follow the regular structure of the episodes, which is we start the episode with the AstroBiz Digest for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, talk a little bit about the astrology, and that's from Teresa Reed's wonderful AstroBiz Digest. And then we get into the meat of the episode. This week, we are interviewing Jenna Matlin, who is the author of her newest book. She's got a couple of books out there, but her newest book is Will You Give Me a Reading? And that is coming out from Llewellyn Books. I think it's going to be out soon, next week, I think. We'll talk to Jenna about that and also about her reading style and a little bit about her book, the stuff that's in her book, her other books, her reading styles. I'm going to ask her the question that I ask everyone I interview, which is, how do you receive intuitive information? Because I'm always curious. I always want to know that. And then we will break for the mid-episode reading if we have enough people live here in the chat. Maybe Jenna will pull some cards. Maybe I'll pull some cards. Maybe we'll both pull some cards. Ooh, it's exciting. And then we will continue the episode, finish up with Jenna, and then I will send you all off with the weekend forecast. If that sounds good to everyone, give me a hell yeah in the chat, and I will bring Jenna on for the AstroBiz Digest portion too, because I know she loves herself some Teresa Reed as much as I do. So Magic Blooms is here as promised. I'm so happy to join you two lovelies on here this evening. Yay. Sophia is here. Sophia, I know I talked to her this week and she was just like, I am canceling whatever I have so that I can tune in live because I need to be here live for this episode. So without further ado, let me unmute Jenna and bring her on. So Jenna, get ready. You're going to be coming up in 3, 2, 1. Hi!
Yay! How's it going?
It's going. I'm so excited to have you on. And I'm just realizing that I didn't create an overlay that had your name underneath it. That was the one thing I forgot to do, but that's fine.
No worries. I'll just keep saying it every. I'm like, yes. Well, Jenna Matlin.
Well, Jenna Matlin. Yes. So Sophia is saying, I did in fact cancel my lesson. LOL. Yeah. So there are some rabid fans here in the chat. I'm so happy that you were able to come on. And I am just like diving into your book, and I am nowhere near finished with it. I think I'm on like chapter 3 of 16, but I scanned through it. And it is so freaking good. Like, it is so freaking good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am like over here eating, what do they call these little cinnamon hots? This is dinner.
Red Hots?
Red Hots. Yeah, maybe. And then I'm washing it down with a beer because it's just been like that kind of Friday.
Just because. Now I want to be. Damn it. I knew I should have grabbed a beer instead of my water, but that's okay.
I can keep these guys entertained if you want to go.
It's fine. It's cool. It's fine. Zuri is here and she's saying you have amazing lighting. Yeah, I just pumped up my lighting to match up to yours, but yeah.
Well, like on the other side of the camera, what is that Marvel villain? I'm not up on my Marvel, but he has like all the arms behind him and they're mechanical. Who's that guy? And he can like grab you. Is he Marvel? Isn't he?
Marvel or Star Wars? General Grievous?
Star Wars. Anyways.
Or Doctor Strange.
No, not Doctor Strange. Who is this guy? Or an Avenger, maybe? I don't know. He's got all these robotic arms behind him, and he grabs these. That's what it looks like behind the other side of the camera. It was like all
Oh
these
yeah, totally.
tension arms like coming at me, holding things. I'm like, I did
I can
not
show
sign up
you.
to get a degree in like theatrical Yeah, exactly. Like, theatrical camera lighting work. I'm just like all the crap you find yourself having to learn as a solopreneur, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
But
Doc Ock. Yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
it. Sophia had it.
that's
Doc
it.
Ock.
That's exactly what's going
Fantastic.
on
So
the other side of this
Spider-Man.
camera.
Yeah, I'm like, what the? Yeah.
And
Yep.
everyone's like,
Sophia's
"Wow, the
right.
painting behind you is
So
great."
Magic Blooms is saying,
Mm.
yeah, Magic Blooms is saying, cannot wait to get my hands on that gem and dive in. So,
Oh, thank you.
um, and yeah. I don't, I'll try and keep up with this chat as much as possible. But like, yeah, let's just do introductions first before we move into the AstroBiz Digest. I don't know if you're familiar with how I do my live stream, but that's how I do my live stream. I start with the astrology. Meat of the episode is the interview or the topic that I'm teaching. We break for the mid-episode reading, which is a new feature here on the Tarot by Hillary livecast. And then we continue and wrap up, and then we do the weekend forecast. So that's basically the agenda. But let's introduce Jenna first. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So Jenna, like, who are you? I know who you are. A lot of people in the chat already know who you are, but just introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jenna Matlin, and I am a full-time tarot reader, intuitive, rabble-rouser, full of Michiganist and all of that good stuff. I've been doing it like 11 and a half years now, full-time.
Mm.
And I am now based out of North Carolina, but I was in Philly for many of those years until right before the pandemic. I have 2 self-published books, Have Tarot Will Travel and then Have Tarot Will Party, which Hillary like helped edit amazingly. It feels like a million years ago, doesn't it?
I know. It's wild.
And then of course my new book. So basically, yes. And you can find me everywhere by my name, my website, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram is all jennamatlin.com if you want to, or Jenna Matlin if you want to connect.
All right, I'm going to put this up on underneath so that we at least have it for people. So I think I got that right. Pretty
Oh,
easy.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I knew you back when you were Queen of Wands. So you had like your little, I don't know, nom de plume, almost like tarot de plume, where
Yeah.
you identified with Queen of Wands. So you were Queen of Wands tarot for a number of years, and that's how I first got to know you and meet you. And then, I think a lot of people are doing that now, where it's just like there's craft name and there's business name and there's brand name, but I think people are really getting back to this is my name and this is what I do. And that way it encompasses so much more than just tarot. Like for me, I'm in the quandary of like, now I'm an EFT practitioner. Like, where does that fit to Tarot by Hillary? It's not an automatic thing. So just an aside there. So Sophia says, a new Jenna Matlin book and Hillary's first book. We are spoiled. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be on.
What is your
Go
release
ahead.
date? What is your release date in November?
Technically speaking, it's November 22nd.
Okay.
But it is a UK publisher, so there have been some people that have been already receiving it, and someone received it before I got my author copies. And I'm like, what the hell? But I received my author copies, so I have them in my hot little hands now too. Magic Bloom says, I love Have Tarot Will Party. So good. Lots of air horns in the chat. And Zuri is saying, I've been catching Jenna on the talk. She's great. Yes. And I actually just responded to one of your TikToks about, like, I think you've been doing this like series of TikToks up until the lead up of like the official launch of your book, where you're explaining or, myth busting basically, like, oh, tarot's not good for this, or you only have to like be gifted your first deck, or you have to steal it, and it's just like, oh, bad karma there. But like, has that been fun to record? Because it does seem like it's really fun from what I watch when I see those videos.
I really resisted TikTok. I was like, F that, like just the commoners. the common plugins are going to use TikTok. I'm not going to use that. I'm more whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Like, it's so ridiculous. And since Instagram and boo hiss Instagram and not really handling all of the scam spoof accounts and making our lives very difficult, I was just like, okay, then I'm going to try to move to another platform. And I've taken it. Actually, you know what? I have an idea that I wanted to see if you wanted to do with me, and maybe if anyone is going to wants to do who's on TikTok. Here's an
Sure.
idea. My idea is, let's do a community-wide reading, like where there's a question and then one of us gives one card and says something, and then the next person will stitch that, add their card, and then stitch that and add their
Ooh.
card. Yeah.
Oh, guys, you're hearing this here first. And also, we'll have replays too. So if you're missing the live, like, I feel sorry for you because it's so much more fun doing these live and like answering questions in the chat and everything. But there will be replays on both the Tube of You and the Book of Face. So don't worry about that. But like, if you're watching live right now, or if you're watching the replay and you find that interesting, follow Jenna on TikTok. Like, you're gonna have to get that started though. Start it. You pull the first card, and then we'll,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
find a question. I'll pull the first card, and then maybe I will like tag you, and then you can stitch
Okay.
me and then do it. And then you can tag. And it's like this little fun little game. And I think other people can start it and then tag us as well. It doesn't have to be us starting it. But I was like,
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
fun way to do like a community reading on something.
Yeah, the great idea. Hearing it here first, live. It's an exclusive. Can't hear it anywhere else. So Sophia is saying about craft names. Craft names are so fun, yet can be hard. I love mine, but a non-negligible population ask, what is a benevolent corvus? Because that is her website, benevolentcorvus.com. And Zuri seems to be in. Magic Bloom seems to be in as well. Count. You've got a couple of people who are volunteering as tributes.
Wonderful. I will be gentle with you all, I promise. As benevolent corvids can be, though they can be quite mischievous as well.
They can. All right, let's move into the astrology from Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. I pulled this from her wonderful AstroBiz Digest every week. I don't give away the farm though, because that's not cool. I only talk about the main transits and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I figured, just come on. Why don't you just come on live instead of waiting to come on and having people be like, where's Jenna? You promised us Jenna. She's right here, folks. She's here. And she can offer color commentary for the astrology and the astro weather as well.
Yes.
Like,
I peanut gallery very well.
yes, great. So the peanut gallery is here.
Yay.
Before we move into the actual interview portion, which is really just going to be a fun conversation about like this weird profession that is tarot reading. And yeah. So from the AstroBiz Digest, which is, by the way, $99 for a year-long subscription, like that is a steal. Like, I don't know of any other astrologer that gives you astrology in layman's terms for all year long, 12 months of the year in your inbox every week. I've never seen it. Like, and could Teresa charge more? Absolutely she could, but she doesn't. $99 is really like, I broke it down one time and I think it was like maybe like $2 a week, like the same as a cost of like a fancy coffee once a week. I think you could probably afford. And we might have lost Jenny here. So let me just double check, because sometimes things get gummed up. So hopefully she can come back in. I'll wait. I'll give it a second, because she might just exit. Okay. She's back. She's here. So Jenna, I'm just going to let you know, if you freeze up from a time, just like exit out and then come back in using the same link and you should be fine. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Because you just froze before. It happens sometimes, especially if I'm very vocal and moving around a lot. So I am going to pull that up and put that into the chat. Zuri's like, $2 for coffee. Where are you shopping? No. I mean, like, more of a fancy coffee. I think it was like $2 a day or a fancy coffee a week for 52 weeks of the year. and then you could spend that money on astrology right to your inbox, which I think is much more important than a fancy coffee, even though I do love my coffee. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the AstroBiz Digest. I'm showing it on screen very briefly, and then the link to it, if you would like to purchase one for yourself, is in the chat. But don't go there now, because then you're going to miss all the fun. All right, gonna hide that and put that back up again. Okay, so the overall vibe for this week is that Mars is still retrograde in Gemini until January 12th. So we're feeling the Mars retrograde right now. That might be the reason why Jenna is eating her red hots and drinking beer. Possibly. I don't know. But Mars retrograde in Gemini, Teresa tells you to avoid launching new businesses, watching your words, be careful signing contracts, do not start a war with anyone, and enforce your boundaries. And people will definitely test those boundaries. But you're not a business doormat. Other than that nonsense, the planes are staying put this week. So Friday begins on a dreamy, creative note, thanks to the Moon-Neptune conjunction at 6:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let your muse sing as you write, make art, or connect with your community via inspirational live streams. Watch out for the Moon-Mars square at 11:02 a.m. At that time, the public is in a foul mood, and it's way too easy to say something unpopular. Better plan, hot tea and cake while scouring the internet for mood board inspiration. These are Teresa words, not mine, but that's a good idea. A power meeting at 12:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time could bring results. The moon will be in a sextile with Pluto then, a favorable aspect for negotiation, but the influence of the Moon-Mars square still lingers around, so it's best for you to keep mum while gathering intel. Take a break while the moon stations void at 6:05 p.m. And soon La Luna will zip into Aries, yes, your astrological hotspot for bold actions, new ventures, and spicy marketing. That kicks in at 7:07 p.m. and hangs around all weekends. So we're not there yet, but we're going to soon be there. So get your rear in gear, blaze trails, and go full on in everything you do. And I just want to double check that I am in the right week here, because I've been known to do that before. Okay, so that's for Friday. So Sophia is saying, is it Mars retrograde in my moon sign, or the grad school app something is driving me batty? LOL. I don't know. Maybe both. And then there's having so many issues with people paying me for services this week. All right, well, Teresa is saying, like, shore up those business boundaries. Like, don't be a business doormat. You gotta, I know we talked a little bit about contracts before, Sophia, and I was just like, oh, well, I didn't do that in my stage in the career, but like you do, like Sophia does. So I'm just like, I think you're way ahead of the game with the fact that you do have contracts. This might be more of a one-on-one thing, but either way, like, here's the receipts. Pay me. Any advice there, Jenna? Because I know you have a lot of really practical advice.
I'm not okay. I'm comfortable with being the squeaky wheel and being annoying and having to be annoying to get paid. I remember once, I'll tell a little spicy. Can I do a little quick spicy story?
Absolutely.
The only person who I actually had to threaten to pay me was someone who was a DA of a very large city. And I said, very interesting that I've had to email you 5 times. And that a DA of the city would be someone who would stiff me. And then it was promptly paid. So my advice is, I would rather push and really just come back to values. But it's rarely a problem because I make people pay up front. So I don't usually have that issue anymore.
Because you make people pay up front.
Yeah.
Magic Blooms is saying, wow. Yeah. Well, sometimes people have the occupation, but they don't have the values that align with the occupation sometimes. It's a little interesting. And it's actually funny, like right before I started up the broadcast, I was reading about what you were saying about boundaries and empathy in your book too. And I'm just like, Huh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's like, I think it's like chapter 2, where it's like, what are like the 3 most important skill sets that you have to be like a reader for others. One of them is empathy. It's huge, 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 huge. Um,
Hmm.
and that's not the same as being an empath, you know? I
Right.
talk about
The
that.
differences between the two. Uh-huh.
Mhm. And boundaries, like really having I'm really coming to understand with greater clarity than ever before that if I want to get a sense of somebody's overall mental health, I see their relationship to boundaries. That's like the number one
Mm,
key indicator of everything else that's probably also going on, you know? So boundaries work is so important, especially for healers who may have codependent tendencies or rescuer tendencies, and that can get transferred into the desire, like into the reading space. We got to watch
there's the
for that.
desire to help people. Yeah, yeah, that's huge. I always recommend, like, I actually did 2 episodes of this here
Oh,
live
really?
stream on boundaries. So you guys can go back into either the Tube of You or the Book of Face and like search boundaries. And yeah, I did 2 episodes, and then the 3rd episode I was going to do, because I was taking Boundary Boot Camp with Terry Cole, who authored Boundary Boss. Excellent,
Oh.
excellent book.
Mhm.
And her chorus was amazing. And so I was telling people about that and saying, "Oh, I'll probably do a part 3 of the boundaries thing." And then I ended up coming on to the next live stream and was like, "Yeah, we're not going to do a part 3, and here's the reason why, because basically she said, like, take on this course for yourself, do it for yourself. Don't
Mhm.
do it with the thought of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to immediately teach it to somebody else, because then you're diluting your own experience and your own
Mm.
learning of these materials." And I'm just like, oh. Like, oh, is she
Yeah.
talking to me? Yeah. Sophia says, haha, boundaries never met her. LMAO, got to be much better about them. Exactly. We had a lot
Yeah.
of, wow, yeah, we have a lot of stuff in here. So Sophia says, I do deposits and then the rest is due the day before. Still feeling like I'm chasing right now. Not in tarot right now, thank God, but I do have some squirrely flute students. Ah,
Mm.
well,
Mhm.
you've got to get your, put your tarot hat on your flute teacher hat.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
They have to have like with me, they have to have their credit card has to be on file to book, and if there is a cancellation within 24 hours, I keep 50% of the total fee. I mean, I could probably do the total fee, but sometimes I don't know, like and it's
doesn't
funny
feel
how, people now are coming when they booked. Crazy how that works.
right, because you're like holding them to that. It's just like, hey, well, if you don't come, you're still paying anyway, or you're still paying half of it anyway, so you might as well come and get the reading,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
um Katie says, hello, my job is going through crazy time, and I hope they don't take their easy contract option. Yes, exactly, exactly. Got to be better about pushing. Magic Bloom says, so true about savior tendencies among empaths. The more we learn to work with the mirrors we are for each other, the better those boundaries can form. Yes, absolutely. And Sophia is thanking you about the credit card suggestion. Credit card on file is so smart. Yeah, and Magic Blooms agrees that within the 24-hour cancellation, because like doctors can do it, lawyers can do it, therapists can do it, like we should be able to do it too. It's a service that we're providing, and like, what do we do with that time now? Like, we can't go and suddenly book another person into that time slot. That's like dead time. And I can always find something to do, but that still means that I'm not getting paid for that full reading. So
Yep, yep,
totally.
yep.
All right, let's keep going with the astro weather. So that's just for Friday, and that Mars being retrograde. So Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday is clear as a freshly washed window until the evening. That means that this is your day to start something, take
Mm,
risks, and make all the noise.
mm.
Once Venus opposes Uranus at 6:22 p.m., the public is not in the mood. With the election looming, the news cycle will be vicious over the weekend, making it hard to get heard. And by the way, Teresa is so good at political astrology.
I bet.
So, so good. So, like, when she says it's going to get nasty, is gonna get nasty.
No.
Sunday, yeah, I know. It's like, interesting. Sunday still has some of that Venus Uranus vibe holding court, so try not to push things. Pace yourself and be patient. Best time for a marketing blitz at 3:30 p.m. When the moon is in sextile with Mars. I know you're taking notes here. You can find the right words then. It's also terrific timing for pitching the media. Once the moon squares Pluto and stations void at 5:30 p.m., no one is listening. Time to sign off, call it a week, think about your week ahead, and with another eclipse landing on election day, you can be assured the energy will be intense and volatile. If you haven't done it yet, vote. This election needs all hands on deck, seriously. I don't know what the power days are, because I don't think she listed them this time around, but and I don't have the time to look. But I did want to ask, do you take astrology into account when you're booking people or when you're doing readings? No?
I do when with the client in session, like, what are their signs, but I don't typically do. My ADHD, like, there's just no way I can, like, keep that kind of detail. Like, I just need to get through the day. But I mean, I just told myself, like I was like, "Oh, of course, like my book is released on election day. It comes to 16. It's a tower day." I'm like, "Great." And then it's all, "Oh, and there is the full moon in Taurus, right, with the eclipse in Taurus as well on that day,
Yep.
and my
Yep.
midheaven is Taurus." And I'm like, "Great, like, game on." Here goes.
It's just like everything all at once. Yes. Please. Yeah,
Yeah.
because what I try to do is I can't really control when people like book readings, like
Mm,
Zoom readings, in-person readings, phone, Skype readings. But what I do try to do is when I have email readings, I look at the astrology to
mm,
see I use the AstroBiz Digest and I see, okay, well, I have like two email readings on the docket today, and I've got about a 3-day turnaround for most email readings, shorter for like a one card question. And I'll look at the astrology and be like, okay, well, this window over here looks like a nice little spot to be like especially intuitive or empathetic. And then
mhm,
I will do the email readings at that time.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
and I don't hear a lot of, tarot readers doing that. So I'm just like, I'm putting it out there. I do that. If you guys do email readings, like I would definitely suggest looking at the astrology before you do those email readings, because why not work with that energy, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini sun in Taurus midheaven too. Twinsies. Hey.
um, oh my goodness, there's a lot of stuff here. Hold on, let's go. So Katie says, my singing teacher years ago found the richest students, parents of them, were the worst at paying. So she took to charging them an extra lesson as a late fee payment if they didn't pay by the second week of term. All those rich folk got really quick about paying. There's a lesson there. And Sophia says Long Island has felt like a powdered keg ahead of this election.
I
Yes.
bet. I bet.
And so Sophia is saying, Katie, it's so true. The more affluent parents that aren't timely, I find working class folks value that money and know how needed it is. And also, I would recommend like working on those money issues through tapping if you're so inclined, where it's just like that whole concept of like rich equals bad. Like I've been doing a lot of tapping around those things where it's just
Mm.
like, no, if I'm rich,
Mhm.
that means I have more to give and more to help other people with,
Yeah.
more resources to give.
Mhm, mhm.
But totally, yeah, I've seen that happening too, where it's just like more money, stingier with. I'm trying to not be like that when my ship comes in. Katie says last time you US folk had elections, they were on some crazy star placements. There must be some astrology picking those voting days for the craziest possible outcomes. um and Sophia says, that's so smart. I'm getting my astrology on now with Teresa's books, and shit is truly magic. Yeah. Teresa's books on astrology are really good. And I mean, like sometimes as a tarot reader, you're going to get approached by people and just like, do you do that? And it's just like, No, but I know just enough astrology to be dangerous and just
Yeah,
enough
right.
to like help myself. And also, like,
Mhm,
if I see it in a reading, I'll say something, especially if the tarot deck has like a lot of astrological symbols shown in their imagery.
mhm,
Like I can't help but equate the Emperor card with the Aries because you see the
mhm,
Aries Ram. So sometimes if the Emperor card comes up and they're asking like, oh, well, who my potential partner is. And it's just like, well, they might be an Aries because you got the Emperor card coming up here. And I'm looking at these Rams and it just feels very Aries energy to me. I don't know. But I'm not going to complain that I'm not going to claim that I can do a natal chart. I definitely can't. Yeah. So I tell my clients that I think it's cool, but their 16-year-old daughter likely knows more than me. LOL. All right. Well, we've done the astrology. So like let's get into the meat of this episode, even though we've already started kind of talking about it. But like
mhm.
I have a bunch of questions,
Oh,
but I did want to also make it more conversational. But I love that the title is Will You Give Me a Reading? Can you talk more about that? Did you choose the title? Did it just come to you from like the introduction that you wrote?
yeah, so I'm like, I can't even remember now. It had a couple other titles, and I was really struggling on the title. But here's the thing about Llewellyn, when you publish through Llewellyn, they choose the title. You don't choose the
Mhm.
title. That's a
Mhm.
thing. And so this was their genius, but this Will You Give Me a Reading was the first sentence of my book proposal. So it was like I started the book proposal talking about that. Like if you have a tarot deck anywhere, no matter how like on the DL you're trying to keep it, eventually someone's going to spy that deck and go, "Will you give me a reading?" And at that point, you have a very important, maybe even life altering decision to make. And so yeah, I was like, why didn't I think of that? That's so like but they did, and I did, but not like directly, more like tangentially. But yeah, everyone is like, this slams. They're like, but I hate having to capitalize that many words in a title every time. like, will you give me,
You give me the only thing that I don't cap is the A.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
that's just, can't you can take the, copy editor out of the publishing company, but you can't take it out of the girl, I guess. I can't help myself, but,
Yeah.
Magic Blooms is just, like, interesting. I do love the title, though. It is, like but it's very much a title of, like, it's practical. It's like, this is what it is, Like, you are going to hear this. If you are a reader, if you have a deck, will you give me a reading? Like, it's just like, yeah, it has that head slap kind of thing, but yeah, you're right. And I love that you're saying like that's not actually in my control because a lot of people have been like, well, why did you name it How to Read Tarot? Like for my book. And I'm just like, publisher came to me with that book with that title, or they came to actually the original title was Tarot Practical and Celestial. So like a
Mm,
couple of things that I wrote were just like pre-order my book, and it has the
mm,
old title, not the new
yeah.
title, and it's just like,
Oh. Yeah, I think
okay,
everything is, like, based on, like, search algorithms now, right? Like,
yeah.
so this is why, it has to have tarot in the title somewhere, and, it has to Amazon has to be able to find it very quickly, in the
Hmm.
ways that people search for books now, and that's dominating why we're seeing the kind of titles we're seeing versus, even just 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. um And well, I mean, you kind of answered my question, because it's just like for those of who haven't picked up the copy of the book and realize, like in the introduction, it's just like eventually people are gonna like holding the deck of the hit, like, oh, will you give me a reading? Like, but I do love like um that the portion that you said, like encouraging people to say yes to that question, to say yes to the practice of reading tarot for others instead of just like I don't know, keeping it to yourself. Like, talk
Mhm.
a little bit about like, your concept of teaching tarot, that it can't be kind of isolationist in nature, that it's just like, you can't, I mean, you can choose to read for yourself, you can choose to read for others, and you can choose to read for yourself and others. But like, where do you feel the teaching really is?
Yeah, well, I think reading for others makes you a better reader for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're able to otherize how you when you can see. Well, there's an interesting shift that happens in the relationship when you do that. So when you are just using tarot for yourself, it's really like you and tarot having this back and forth, right? But then when you're reading for somebody else, it's like you and tarot are on a team, and then the other person is on the other side. So then
Mm-hmm.
the relationship, tarot becomes more of a like an assistant, or you're the assistant to tarot rather than being the receiver of tarot. And I think that that's a very subtle but really important distinction. And so when you take that new role on as like more of like team tarot helping another person, it helps you understand how tarot then talks to you. So that's part of it. And then the
Yeah.
other part of it is just based off of my language background. So when I lived in China, I was studying Mandarin, and I went for, I was at a hippie school, so we were like, whatever, we don't care. We're just here to have fun, and I had other people that were from other countries who grammatically they were flawless. Their writing was beautiful. But when we were out on the street, guess who was the one ordering and joking and talking? That was me. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my grammar was not as good as flawless. My word choice wasn't, my vocabulary maybe was not as concise, but I was learning fluency at the same time as I was learning accuracy. And so that does a couple of things when we translate that technique into tarot, because to be an intuitive reader means, and they just did recent brain scans on this actually, when they looked at improvisational like jazz players or like comedy guys or girls, comedy people. um, they found that your prefrontal cortex shuts down when that intuition hits, when they're like, oh, I know what to do. And so what happens is, in order for that intuition to really show up for us, we have to quiet or find ways to completely shut down that self-referential, self-monitoring, self-editing part of our brain, because it's going to suppress that. So when I have people jump immediately into fluency and be like, yeah, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, it's like, not even, don't worry about it. This is not about accuracy right now. This is about learning how that function feels in your mind when it shows up, and then being able to do it at will. So then you can toggle
Mm.
back and forth between that fluent state and then checking for accuracy. So that's a very maybe a long answer to your question, but that's really the basis of how I teach tarot and about how I wanted to teach tarot in the book.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Magic Bloom says everything opens when we begin reading for others. It allows for a deeper connection and new wisdom to flow in when we read for ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's just so it like, I didn't even consider that portion of it, but it is like, I mean, people say this a lot, that like learning tarot is like learning a new language, or learning a divination system is like learning a new language, but like, why? Like why? And you just kind of answered the why it's like learning a new language, because
And it's
I
yeah.
never realized about the science stuff where it's just like,
Oh,
hey, this part shuts down in order for this to take the forefront.
and
It's
here's
just
like
like,
an
let
yeah.
tarot take the wheel.
Yeah, let's take a wheel, people. I need that to be on a t-shirt or like a bumper
Tarot
sticker.
take
Tarot,
the
take
wheel,
the
and it's the
wheel.
wheel, and it's the Wheel of Fortune tarot card.
Yes, even better. Yeah, I want to add to that too, because I really believe that tarot is one of the best whole brain activities that anyone can do, because you're activating both the right and the left hemisphere at the same time. So you have the spatial, symbolic, artistic, systems, relational, like things coming up on your right side. And then that information has to transfer over to the left side, which is linguistic, cause and effect, time oriented, detail oriented. So I find that when people say, I started reading tarot and now I'm way more intuitive, I would push back and say, you were always that intuitive. You've just now trained your left brain to now hear your right brain, which we're not trained to do in classical education. So I think if people, who aren't like, I'm very naturally very whole brained, like I really utilize both sides. But if you're more of a super logic person, or even super intuitive, I think learning tarot helps your brain learn to hear itself in all of its flavors, which I think is so cool. I love it.
Mm, yeah. And I mean, I talk about this a little bit when I'm teaching tarot about learning styles, where it's just like everyone has a different learning style or a combination of learning styles. And people that like to learn from books are going to learn differently than people who like to listen or are visual. And knowing that can help you in learning tarot and also learning how your intuition speaks to you too.
Mhm, mhm,
Because oftentimes it's like a heightened version of your learning style is how your intuition speaks to you, or at least that's how what I found.
mhm.
Actually, I will just ask that question because I usually save it to last, but we're talking about it now. How do you receive psychic information, and what are your primary clairs?
Yeah, so I have a whole acronym I use for that. It's called FUMI, FUMI. So
Okay.
F is for fast, that your psychic hit, and I make a delineation between intuitive and psychic. I don't actually think they're the same thing. That's a
Cool.
whole other day. That's a whole other conversation. But for fast, so like the analogy I use is that psychic hit, it's going to be before anything else shows up. And it's almost like the psychic hit is like a little fish darting at the edge of the water, and you're at the beach. And the goal is to try to scoop up that little fish before the tsunami wave of your logic, your opinions, your like BS, your bias, whatever, like just slams on it. And you know what that feels like when you're like, you get that hit and you're like, whatever. And then you're like, oh, and it was right. And you're like, why didn't I say that? Right. So I've noticed that a lot of like mediums and psychics, when they are like doing readings, they tend to speak very quickly, and it's to capture that and get it out of their
Yeah.
mouths.
Don't want to lose
Yeah, don't wanna lose
it.
it. So Fumi, it's unemotional. So, um, psychic hits typically are not emotion driven. So things like dread or anxiety, you have to be really careful. That is another system that's also helpful, but you get information and then you have an emotional reaction to that information. And then the final two, M and I say multiple impressions because I don't want people to pigeonhole themselves into the like, oh, I am just this Claire, because then another one will come up and you'll be like, oh, whatever. And you won't pick it up because I
Mm,
think even like this idea of like speaking about psychic ability just through the lens of Claire's is really it's really trying to shoehorn this thing in through our senses, our physical senses, and that's so helpful, but I think it's also greater than that, you know?
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like if you could see color and you were talking to a nation of blind people, you would not say red, orange. You would say that color is soft. That color is rough, right? You would use the terms that they understood to help them to understand it. But I think partially we don't quite have the right language for what it is because it
Yeah.
hasn't been studied, because your scientific, degree, you'll be laughed out of your profession. And so I
Mm,
think we're really hamstrung. Partially, I mean, I don't wanna get into it, but, like, you have this, like, patriarchic, capitalistic model who's, like, doesn't maybe value those things, and therefore we don't have the language for it. Well, go
mm.
figure, how interesting is that? But, I'll stop that, I'll get off that soapbox, but so that's how I talk about psychic hits, like, and it can't, you have to understand it's not speculation. So I've got like this hair, like, well, get off my mouth, like speculation. And you really have to monitor yourself because I'll see readers just like pop off with their opinion. Oh, you need to
Yeah.
leave Chad. He's terrible. And I'm like, the cards do not say that, number one. And
Right.
you're just popping off with your opinion. And so if you can't tell the difference between psychic hit, intuitive hit, your opinion. Maybe you got also triggered. If you're not monitoring for what voice is arising, then you are a dangerous reader for others, and you need to be
Yeah.
really careful. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, that's I mean, we've got a lot of responses in the chat. And I do agree with you. Like I use the clairs and I always prefaced
Mhm,
with the clairs, you're gonna have more than one,
mhm,
like don't stop. Don't stop just because you have one,
mhm,
like it's usually a combination of two or even three, you know. But I do like that it's just like we don't have the language for it, and it's like the clairs are almost a convenient way of getting there, but it still just misses the mark. I agree
yeah.
with
Well, but I think we will. I think as this gets more accepted and integrated, I think we'll start coming up with language to explain it better, for sure.
you. Yeah, and I mean, the more conversations we have like this, the more people
Yeah.
will start to think about it and ruminate on it. So Magic Bloom says, I didn't know that's so interesting about the
Mm.
studies done. Yeah, because the science is there. The science is there. It's like the scientific and the metaphysical do not have to be in conflict with each other. I think they really inform each other very well. I
Mhm.
think. Katie says, yes, I definitely began to know what was an intuitive thought versus a logic emotion thought when I did readings for others. Gave me more confidence in my own readings
Mm.
and intuitive and psychic it feel very different to me as well. I'm not psychic, but I am highly intuitive. And also, OMG, OMG, yes. Yeah. And Magic Bloom's also saying, dangerous indeed. I've turned down readings from people whom I sense are going to do exactly that. Give me their opinion and attempt to force it on me.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, those like, and the problem with dangerous readers or dangerous readings is sometimes they
Mm.
don't know that they're dangerous,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
can be dangerous in and of itself,
Yep.
or they do know and they're still out there doing readings. And then there are readers like us that then have to um, not undo the damage because I don't know if we can actually undo the damage, but we're there having to like clean up the mess a little bit. And then speaking for the entirety of the tarot population, where it's just like, listen, that was either an immature reader or someone that was not in touch with their objectivity as well, because I think objectivity really needs to take precedence, and also lack of ego. Like when ego steps in, the magic steps out. You got to be a little bit humble while doing this work. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron because you have to be confident too, but it's just like there's a balance there. So I really do think that, you know, lack of awareness of what kind of reader you are and where this information might be coming from, even though you don't have the language to really describe it, you do have the language to
Mm.
describe it.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
it's hard.
Mm. Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, it's, you know, I just think, like, being that was, like, the 3rd pillar, coming back to, like, what makes a good reader is also being able to take criticism and keep
mhm,
rolling and go, okay, maybe there is a nugget of truth in this criticism I can look at. But I often find readers are so fragile and thin-skinned when it comes to that, that they actually keep themselves from growing. but
yeah.
but the caveat is a client and their experience of the reading is not always the best determiner of feedback.
Yes, I just read that portion of your book.
I did.
Just read
Yeah.
that portion. I'm just like,
Like,
yes.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's true
It's
because
true.
they're responding to how they feel about the reading or the lens that they are getting that information or whether they even like it or not, and that's gonna inform their opinion. You're gonna be your best bet is to get another really good reader to watch the reading because
Yeah.
it's like a magic show. Like someone in the audience is like, "Oh my god, look at all the crazy magic that's happening." You know, they're only seeing like the end result, but another magician is going to see the mechanics that created
Mhm.
the magic. And so that's where you want the feedback is from that one. So I don't see enough readers brave enough to actually do readings in front of other readers, and I think that's really that's to everybody's detriment because it'll make you a better one.
Yeah. Yeah, for definite. And I used to be very nervous when I would go to like tarot conferences, especially like Reader
Mhm.
Studio, where they
Mm.
had the foundation reading, where it's just like, hey, listen, you're going to be getting a lot of readings this weekend. You're going to be giving a lot of readings this weekend. Like, you got to get comfortable with reading for other tarot readers.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and that was just more of my own, like, I'm not good enough to read for blah, blah, blah. But I do understand that, like, that flip side where it's just like, no, you can't watch what I'm like, look at your own paper, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like there's such helpful feedback there. And it's just like, well, let's take this side by side. And it's just like, let's have a conversation about this. And that's kind of how I read tarot sometimes with certain clients, where it's just like, I'm not just giving the tarot reading. I can do that with some clients. If
Mhm.
other clients are just like, I kind of want to learn tarot too. And it's just like, okay, well, this is going to be a tarot reading, but I'm also going to kind of teach you a little bit too. Or, you know,
Mhm.
like, what are you seeing in this card? And it can be more of a conversation instead of like, uh, like
Yep.
give instead of get. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
Magic Bloom says, I'm envisioning myself stuttering in front of, say, Rachel Pollack or MK or Mary K. Greer. LOL. Oh my. Oh well, um, I haven't read for either of them, but I've definitely had conversations about tarot, and Mary Greer has asked me for my class notes for when I was teaching tarot for spell
Oh
work.
gosh.
So yeah, like that's
They are
like, and I was just like, okay, cool.
they're
Right.
so generous and so kind. I just think they love anyone who loves tarot. So they're not
Yeah.
sitting there like going, "Ugh," they're like, "Oh, you teach me. How do
Yes.
you do this?" That's like
they're
I
they're
love about
so
them.
they're so generous. And like Mary
Mhm.
Greer was just talking about a technique that she had used when I think she was traveling, and she was going to give a reading, but then she realized like her tarot deck was like packed away in her suitcase. And so she ended up doing a reading based on, using colors for the suits and the major arcana, and then having them pick a number,
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
and then giving the one card reading that way.
Mhm.
And I was just like, oh, that's such a good time. And so she basically shared it, and she was just like, let me know, like, try this out, let me know what you think. And I was just like, I tried it out with my husband, Mary. And I was just like, but he knows too much about tarot now, so I can't really use this with him. And she was just like loving it. Yeah. But yes, they seem to yeah, they're very, very generous with their time. And it's just
Mhm.
like, you come to the tarot with respect and, a sense of learning. They're not going to have a problem with you. All right, let's do one more question before we move into the mid episode reading. And I hope people are looking at the little ticker below. And I will tell you what's happening when we get to that point in time. But this is only available for people that are here on the live. It encourages you to show up live. Otherwise, you wouldn't be considered for a live reading. So, one more question before, and I mean, this is not going to be the last question. This is just the last one before the mid-episode reading. So I love that there's the quick start guide at the start of the book. That was like one of my favorite portions of it, because it's just like, I know why you picked up this book. I'm psychic. I know why you picked up this book. Like, for those people that are picking up this book just for that quick start guide, what would you say to them to encourage them to read the rest of the book?
So the question is, if they've read this quick start guide, why would they read the rest of it? Am I
Yeah.
understanding? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, geez. 'Cause you bought it and you might as well get your money's
You might as well.
worth. No, but like, this is just like, these are like, why are we saying these things? Why is the quick start guide like this? And the quick start guide, it was actually one of the last things I added. I actually took out one chapter to add this one. Um, and if you guys leave a review, and tell me, I will give you the director's cut of that chapter. Just email me with a screenshot of of your review. Oh my God, right?
Oh,
So
exclusive deal.
exactly. But yeah, when I'm looking at it, just like, don't panic is the first thing. Don't panic.
Yeah.
you know, and I kept thinking of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I knew it.
Don't
I knew it. I was just like,
panic.
where's the towel? Where's the
Yeah, right.
towel?
Where's your tarot towel? You're not a mind reader. So all the things that a person will encounter outside of the actual technique of reading that you need to just keep in mind. Like
Mm,
listen. Like so many readers don't listen very well. Or like someone will give you like a paragraph and I'm like, what are they really asking? What are they really asking? And a lot of people can't answer that because you really have to listen and go, what are they really asking in all of this? Because sometimes we may hear the wrong thing and go barking up the wrong tree because even the person asking, they haven't emphasized the most important one, you know? And
mhm,
you're like, I'm hearing you say this, but you said this. And my gut, my intuition is saying that's actually the thing. And they'll
mhm.
go, yeah, actually. So that's like half of the work is to listen, and help them hone the question, right? Because when we have a
Yeah.
tight question, we can get to the answer very fast, just a couple of cards. It's beautiful.
I love a tight question. I do.
Oh, like a tight pair of buns. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, it's getting late. Meet them where they are. This is like something that I really dislike. Um, Readers who think they're better than other people, you know, or okay, maybe she hasn't left chat. And sometimes I joke about that, but they're going through anguish. You have to meet them where they are. If you come in like you're this guru that you're better than them, and I think some readers never check themselves before they wreck themselves and they have such a crazy ego because all they're told is they're right. This is problematic because we can't truly heal what we ourselves are not being fully like empathetic to and in service to. And you
Yeah.
don't need to have a degree to do that. Just like check your stuff because it's not
Yeah.
about us. I'm just a servant to the message. I'm not the creator of the message. It ain't coming from me, you know?
Right. Right. And I love that you're saying that. And of course, I was really struck by that portion of your book when you were talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where it's
Yeah.
just like, don't be judgy that like one person's coming in and asking, when is my next paycheck coming? Because I'm like surviving from paycheck to paycheck. I just need to know where this money is. And another person's asking, like, what is my life's purpose? And it's just like both questions are valid.
Mhm.
Both questions deserve your respect and attention because they're coming to you and asking you to help them with the
Mm.
tarot,
Yep.
right?
100%. 100%. Like, oh, that bot like, yeah, it's like I don't have like I'm really worried I'm not gonna make rent or whatever, my mortgage. Okay, so like let's talk about like your high vibe, like lack energy, and you're just like, shut up, like help that person, help them.
Yeah,
You're not better than
yeah,
them. That's what they're worried about. But you can meet them there, and then you guys can rise together. That we can
yeah,
do, but we can't do that if we're not fully seen. That's really important. Sorry,
yeah.
I get really into like this is like my, you know.
Yeah, no, but that's where I think people are attracted to readers like you, readers like me. That it's just like, no, there are real issues in here that the tarot can help, but it's just like, but you have to acknowledge that some of it, you might not pull a single tarot card, and your job is to just hold space and listen to that person and validate that their feelings are valid, and
Yeah.
that their existence matters, and that you are
Yes.
hearing them.
Yes, yes, yes,
By
yes.
the way, your impression of like, oh, let's get high vibe. It sounds really similar to Melissa's imitation. She calls that, I think she calls that her alter ego sandalwood. So you have to like
Seriously.
work on that, and I want to see some TikToks from that perspective, and I want to
Yeah.
hear that name.
It's a
But
what's her name from, oh my gosh, not Moira Rose, the daughter. What's,
oh, Alexa,
Alexa. It's
Alexis.
like, "Oh, I love that journey for you." Like, I just got back from Tulum and, like, totally I've only started reading tarot, like, 3 months ago, but I can totally like, I can see this giving me like 10 to 15 grand a month in one more month. It's just like this, some of the stuff is like, wow.
Just like,
Anyway,
I'm not there yet. And I've been reading since I was 16 years old and professionally since 2005. Come on now.
the
All right. So
audacity
there's
out there is so intense right now. I'm just like,
hold on. I have to wait for this comment to pop and then I'll go back through the other comments before we do the mid episode reading. So Magic Bloom says, I am dead. At the Alexis Rose of tarot, Jenna
Alexis goes,
Matlin.
yeah.
Yeah. Sophia says, I feel like the other thing with that is no one is God. I mean, I read from the holy books of Sinova, Elford, Pollock, and Greer constantly, but none of the aforementioned can smite me. LOL. And Amanda, when did you creep in here? Amanda says, I absolutely struggle with giving one-sided readings where the client wants to be talked at. If I'm not having a conversation or teaching a bit about tarot while giving a reading, it's difficult. So like that's your reading style, honey. Like don't fight it. Don't fight it.
I think there's like there's a subtlety in there. Like I don't teach about tarot unless they want it, and I sometimes find that if we're going into the weeds of tarot, we're going to lose the other person who may not really be interested in tarot, but just wants the message. So I'll often ask somebody like, do you read tarot or whatever, and kind of get their sense of it. And then that will inform like how jargony or like in the weeds I might get, because I've seen clients get really mad about that. They're like, I just felt like they taught me tarot. I just wanted to know if Chad was going to come back, So that's the one thing, unless that's part of the offering that's like mentioned at the beginning. So people know, right, whether they're going to
manage
have it.
expectations. Manage
Yeah. And then they can make
expectations
a
up front.
decision. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But like, yeah, if they're saying nothing and I'm like, so what do you think? Oh yeah, it's accurate, and then nothing else, then I'll be like, hey, listen, so I can't really talk at you for an hour, so like let's go a little deeper. What do you feel, what arises for you? So really building, and that isn't in the book. Now I'm like, god dang it, that should have been in the book. Is like really coming up with a really lovely set of questions to evoke their sharing. So like, not like, does this like resonate for you? Because I do that. Like I do that. This is my fault. Like,
I
does this
do it
resonate? And they're
too.
like,
Like,
yeah,
does this make sense to you? That's mine. Does this make
right.
sense to you? And I'm just like, oh, damn it. I did it again.
Yeah. So it's like, what kind of questions can we ask that will have them show up a little more fully, or ask them to be part of the conversation? And I think that's really, and I talk about that in the book, is why is that one client will say, ugh, she didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, right? And then you have another client who'll say, she told me everything I already knew, right? Like, what is
Yeah.
the difference? And I really think the difference has to do with what is their philosophy of fate and free will before they have come into the session. So if you're more deterministic, where you believe that some old dude in a robe is like chiseling out on a stone tablet, like your kitab, like your fate for the rest of your life, then you are more of a passive kind of person. And so if I was that person, I would absolutely not want to hear stuff I already know. I want to know about what's coming on that tablet that's already been written for me, right?
Yeah.
Versus someone who's
Yeah.
in a growth mindset, who's like, I'm indeterministic, which is I believe in free will. Then I want to hear that my will is in alignment with something that's going to be like working for me, or I'm aware of like crap that's coming for me, right? So, but both of these kinds of people gets readings, and we're not going to know. So that's part of why we cannot just take their feedback as the reason why our reading sucked or whatever, because they're
Yeah.
bringing
Wow.
all of that into the session, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we'll never know either, because sometimes there's a like wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Like they get one reading, we never hear from them again. And sometimes I wonder about those people, and then I don't wonder for long, because it's just like, okay, on to the next person. Because otherwise I would go insane if I like had that level for everyone.
Yeah,
I would just
totally.
go mad. But having that conversation at the start, of the reading could help to manage expectations. And most of the time I've been saying to people, like, I don't tell you anything that you don't already know on some level. And that is
Mhm.
how I manage my expectations. But then at the same time, when this like weird, off the cuff, out of left field impression comes to me, I'm going to say that too. And
Mhm.
then it's just like, okay, well, then I've kind of like made a liar of myself, because it's just like, that certainly wasn't on the radar at all. What the hell just happened? So it is that kind of like, there's no label for it. There's no description for it. You can't really, you
Yeah.
can't really box it in, because then you
Mhm.
might take the magic out of the experience too.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and I'm sure you have that experience too, where it's just like, I don't know how I know this. I just know this. And here you go.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
And I know you know that, because, or I know that you read in that way because I saw it in the book, where it's
Mhm.
just like, just say it, just say it. It might not make sense to you. Just say
Or it might
it.
yeah, and it may not make sense to them until much later,
Right.
or they're listening through such a tight and small, like, they're listening for something very specific, and if it's
Yeah.
not exactly 100% on the nose, they'll be like, no, no, that doesn't land," and then you're like, "I said yellow, the color yellow, and you said citrine. Because you didn't exactly say citrine, you were wrong." I've seen
Right.
that kind of people looking only through that lens. They're not opening it up. So, yeah, like, again, the feedback is, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. And also, like, that's a very Four of Cups kind of client. Like, arms crossed. I'm not seeing the cup in front of me because I'm looking very specifically for this particular outcome. And if I don't see this particular outcome, then I'm not interested.
Mhm.
And then you cut yourself off from any opportunity that might show up
Right.
because you're looking for this specific one.
Yep, and that's what I tell them, "Hey, tarot is not analog Google, and the only thing we are entitled to is asking the question. How the universe decides to answer that, we're not entitled to that." And how dare
Hmm.
us really, on some level?
Yeah.
How dare us
Yeah.
think that just because we've demanded it, the universe is gonna supply, and the thing that we're asking for may not even really be in our greatest good in the so it's just, I think, coming with a healthy dose of respect and also open-mindedness is so important. But we
Mm.
live in a demand Amazon culture. Everything is, "I want this, give it to me now, right now, and it better be that," or "I'm dissatisfied." And that's just not how speaking with divine works. It just doesn't. It's not how it
No.
works.
No, no. Magic Bloom says, yes, that's right. Not analog
Mhm.
Google. That's so on point. Katie says, sometimes people won't speak up because they think they will get a cold read.
Yep.
I hate that. Yeah, but I get it. It's just like, listen, we need to have some kind of focus point, because it's just
Mhm.
like, I can't tell you like I've had people get mad at me where it's just like, well, you didn't tell me this. And it's just like, we weren't focused on the reading, wasn't about that. I'm going to focus here. And if something happened over here in your life that I didn't tell you about, it's because your question was about this. Your
Mm,
question was not about this.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, the whole it's really the wrong thing. So, yeah, when people are like, "I'm not gonna speak up because I don't wanna give you too much intel." And I'm like, you're not actually testing for the right thing. You're testing to see whether you want me to be a mentalist and guess what you're thinking, and that is a magic trick. That's not tarot, and that's not how intuition works. So, I'll get a psychic hit, but then I have no freaking clue what it's talking about. But if I have
Yeah.
context, it's like I'm like a bloodhound. Give me a sock, give me something to sniff, and then I'm on the trail, right? But if I don't have that, I don't even know where, like, what is arising that's relevant. Because sometimes stupid things show up. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
that, like, just random. You're just like, "What? Why are you telling me? Why is this coming up?" Um,
Right.
so I tell people when they do play that, like, "I'm not gonna play that game. I'm not gonna do the prove it to me game." And I say it like that.
Yeah.
But if you trust me and just do it my way and the way that I know how I can serve you best, then you'll know by the end of our session whether this was a hit for you or not. And I've
Mm.
never had anyone go, "Okay, it wasn't a hit. Can I have my money back?" Because for many years I did have 100% money gap, but guarantee if at the end of the session this did not work, I will give you all of your money back. I have not once ever had anyone ask me that in all the years. to do that.
I think that's great. And I think you should knock on wood when you say it too.
Yeah, now that they heard it, right? Like they're like, all right.
So I'm
most of the Starbucks cup and then come back. I'm like, I was dissatisfied. You're like, what?
So I did display some of the comments. We're not going to be able to get to all of the comments because they're so good and there's so many. But let's do the mid-episode reading. I will leave it up to you, Jenna, if you want to participate or not. But like if you got a deck to hand, I will go and grab mine because I did bring it into the room, but I didn't, put it next to me. So this is the portion of the episode. It's just available for live viewers. So however many people are live here right now, we are going to put you in the running to be considered for a live reading right now on the broadcast. So I'm going to show, first of all, Demetrius says that's wonderful. And to be considered for a live reading, drop the word. I'm going to have Jenna pick the word. What do you think is the best word for this particular episode? Because we've done like party before. I think we've done like mystic. We've done spooky. Do
I tell you?
Yes. Tell me the word so then we can tell other people the word so they can put it into the chat and I'll put them into the roulette wheel for their spin.
It can be any word?
Any word.
Okay. Listening.
Listening. I'm just going to put listen.
Or listen. Yeah.
So it's easier for people to type in there. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and update that crawler. And yeah. So it is the mid-episode reading. I know Sophia is like first one into the gate. Listen. So I'm going to pull up my little picker spinner and start entering people in. And, while I'm doing, I'm sure you have a tarot deck to hand, but if you don't.
I do.
I'm going to go grab my deck.
Okay.
As we have
ooh, I get to hang out with you guys without.
I can hear.
All right, guys, freak out. Hillary's not here, and I give you permission.
I can hear you. Wireless headphones are very helpful. All right. So I'm going to grab, I'm going to use the reflective tarot. And depending on the nature of the question, we might pull one card, we might pull 3 cards. It's whatever we're feeling for the question. But we need to pick a winner first. So I'm going to allow it another minute or so because we definitely have a lot of people in here.
I'm using Tarot of Oneness. I kickstarted this like a long time ago and it just finally came. It's very pretty deck. Do you ever just like do a random Kickstarter go, I don't know, that looks cool. Bing, 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 bing.
And then it ends up being a really nice one too. Or
yeah,
just like,
it's like wah, wah. Oh, you know what?
All
I
right.
could also, I'll do tarot. Never mind.
But you could, what else? What were you going to do?
Well, I have my mixy matchy box, where I put decks that I don't like to read with or decks that were missing a card.
Well, I think it's whatever you're feeling too,
it's like
whatever the person's feeling.
With like, there's Oracle, there's children's game pieces in here. It's like so crazy. I love it. It's fun.
So Katie is saying, I got a reading last time, so I won't put myself up. Thank you, Katie, for abiding by the rules. Where if you've gotten a reading recently, please don't put in for getting one now. So I will take that out. So we have, Jenna, can you list them off to me? Can you see them?
List off the people who put a word in?
But listen, yeah.
Yeah, we have Sophia, we have Amanda, we have Magic Blooms, we have Ask Zuri. Oh, wait, yeah, that's it.
Okay, Zuri. I want to see how Magic Blooms spells her Magic. Oh, I spelled it right. Okay, cool. All right, give it another minute and we will go for it. Yay. This is such a fun conversation. I usually try and limit myself and be like, okay, well, we're not going to go on all night for the live stream because sometimes we've done live streams for like up to 3 hours, depending on the
Oh,
topic. Like we did like a 2-part court card episode where it was like all about the court cards, and we did like I think pages and knights in one episode, and then we did queens and kings in the next episode, and like each of them were about like 3 hours in length, and I'm just
oh
like,
my
you
God.
guys are crazy, in a good way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like how long this is gonna go because I had it down for an hour and I have dinner calling me. Well, I want to make dinner. My little tummy's hungry, but I didn't know how long we were.
Well, exactly. So, and I try to be a good hostess and not do that, but it's been such a fun conversation.
Oh no,
so.
no, you're fine. I was just like, oh, did I have this like when do we do that?
When do we end?
Yeah, you're fine.
Never. Okay, so we
Here.
have we have Sophia, we have Amanda, we have Magic Blooms, we have Zuri. 1, 2, 3, 4. Katie says about the court cards episode, they were awesome episodes, and they didn't feel that long at the time. I know, right? All right. Okay. Oh, I see, and you wrote that in the host chat too. Thank you. You're working your way around my BeLive system better than I do most of the time. All right, so I think we have 4 people entered, and so I am going to go ahead and share that tab, the picker wheel tab, and let me hide. So you've got a 1 in 4 shot to be getting this winning or winning this reading. So display that.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
Isn't it cute? And it's just like a free little picker wheel. So I don't know if people can see it, but you definitely are in there, everybody, or everyone that put in. So we have Zuri, Sophia, Magic Blooms, and Amanda. Are we ready to spin the wheel? Say a hell yeah in the chat, and I will press the button.
Can I get a whoop whoop?
I also have a soundboard that I was playing with that people were just like, you blew out my eardrums. Like it was very loud. I'm like, oh, was it that loud? I didn't know. All right, here we go.
This is so funny. I love it.
It's pretty cute. All right. Is it? I'm waiting. It's Zuri. It's Zuri.
It even has like a little happy music. That's amazing.
I know. It's really cute. So Zuri, you have one. So think about a question that you want to ask myself and Jenna, and also, do you want Jenna to be picking from the multi-box? I have a feeling
the multi-box or
multi-box
or tarot oneness. I can do either one.
So many choices. So little time. All right, I'm going to hide that. Thank you all for participating. And, if you're looking to get another reading like that, again, you just have to tune into next week's episode because we do it every time there's like more than one person. It really depends. And it really depends on what I'm teaching. Because last week for Spooky Story Time, I didn't do it because it would just mess with the flow of me reading the Blue-Nosed Witch, which is my Halloween tradition. So Zuri is doing her beauty pageant wave. Very nice. She's allowing you, Jenna, pick the tarot. So you can choose.
You want me to use the tarot or not the box? You want the tarot?
No, she's allowing you. I'll let Jenna pick tarot.
Right, but do you want me to pick the box or the tarot deck?
I think she's telling you to choose. You can choose.
Oh, I
which
choose.
one.
Oh,
Yes.
Sorry.
And Magic Bloom says, "Oh my god, that box is a Gemini's dream."
Yeah, I'll pick from the box. Is there a question? Are we going to get a question?
Yeah, we're gonna get a question. Waiting for the question. I'm gonna start shuffling while we're waiting for the question. I have like 3 decks over here. I've got the Tarot del Toro, which is the deck of the month. I've got my Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck that I need to pack away, and I've got this one, the Reflective Tarot, that I'll be using. Waiting. We are waiting with bated breath for your question, Zuri. Magic Bloom says, "I want to dive into that box."
Oh yeah, it's like gotten crazier, and people sent me stuff. It's so beautiful.
It's such a good idea too. People ask me that sometimes. What do I do with like my leftover like onesies? And I was like, you can do craft work with it, like you can like cut it out, do altered books, you know, all sorts of things. And then they're just like, what? And just like, okay, if you're gonna be that sentimental about it.
Yeah.
How does so the question is, yes, how does my business look at the start of the year? And Magic Blooms says, "Ooh, such great decks tonight." It's very unique. Okay, so I will let the guest go first.
So I'm actually going to pull 3 because this mixy matchy kind of does really well on that. And so the 3 I just pulled was this rando total distraction rando little game piece card. And then I have the Judge, some Oracle deck, and then I have King of Pentacles.
Ooh.
And this is from oh man, what's the name of this one? This deck. It's Truth Illuminate. Oh man. Anyways, I'm terrible with remembering names. Should I give the reading, or are we going to do it together?
Yes, give the reading. And Zuri says, "Be gentle, Jenna."
Aww. Well, it's interesting because you have total distraction, and then you have this little word pieces on top calling "Do Faith," and then we have the Judge, and then we have King of Discs. So, how does my business look at the start of the year? The business looks good if you don't get distracted and you make really careful choices around, is this a good use of my time? And is this actually making me money or not? If it's not making me money, maybe I need to come back and really sit down and adjudicate whether this is just something that's a lot of noise and light, but not substance. I love that you have the King and then the Judge. Both of these are really coming from a place of great strength and being solid, but also you're the one making the determinations. And be careful, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of invitations coming your way that may not grow corn. And so I feel with all of that, especially with the King of Discs, there is quite a there is a lot of invitation for you to make money and gain wealth, and as well as just feeling stable if you can keep your eyes on the prize and make the right choices and don't get distracted. So that's my hot take.
Whew. And Sophia said that's the True Heart Intuitive Tarot.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah. So I find it really interesting whenever I do these, or I invite my guests to also do the mid-episode reading with me, because it always aligns. Like we are saying the same thing, but we're saying it differently, or it's very compatible, or very like it goes hand in hand. So Zuri says, "That's a perfect reading and exactly what I needed to hear. Deep thanks and gratitude, Jenna." Do you want mine? Because I think Jenna leaves you very well. But so honestly, the cards that came up for you from the reflective tarot, not that far off from what Jenna was saying. So first of all, you've got the Two of Wands coming up reversed. So to me, that is a card of being distracted and needing to find balance with the reversal. And I didn't even ask Jenna if you read with reversals or not. I read with reversals. Do you read with reversals?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. just yeah, sure.
Like,
But like having a 2 card be reversed to me is just like something's out of whack. Something's not right. Something is distracting you, especially since it's the Wands suit. It's just like your fire is not being like, instead of it being like the Ace of Wands where it's just like, here's your ball of fire, your fire is now being split into 2 and it's going off in 2 different directions. I mean, that would be fine if it would be 2 fireballs going in the same direction, but it's not. It's like kind of like something's over here, something's over here. So it is very much a card of being distracted, and we want to return to your goal and looking at the world. Like, where is your business going? If it's not going towards this or the growth of your business, you have to question, why are you doing it? Much like what Jenna said in the cards that came up for her reading. You also have the 8 of Pentacles reversed. Something like, again, what Jenna said, like, I feel like there is something that you're sinking your money into that is just not paying off. It's just like it's not working. And no matter how hard you try or beat your head against it, it's not going to work, and you're sinking too much money into it. So you need to be the judge and look at the data too, where it's just like, what's my balance sheet here? Like, oh, those, you know what? Like, I know partially what Zuri's business is. It could be a different business that she's asking about, but I think it's the business that I know about. But it's just like, oh, well, I thought this inventory was going to sell so well and it didn't. And it's just like, so now I have to focus on, what is actually selling. Doesn't necessarily matter if I like it like, ooh, bright and shiny, but it's just like, but is it selling? Right?
Yeah, I think with that eight of Pentacles reversed as well, and the Two of Wands reversed, like there's a great need to sit down and take real complete inventory. Like really have the metrics, looking at the math. Is this offering, or is this item, or is this whatever? Even though I might love it, and I think everyone, is it working right now? And I think that's like the mark of a good entrepreneur, is knowing when to kill your darlings, and be like, all right, I'm looking at this, and maybe this just is not, maybe this can be done another time, but for whatever reason, this is not where the energy is going.
Yeah.
And I see
talking about that, the final card is the Eight of Cups upright. So that's the only upright card that's coming up here, and it's the 8 of Cups. So it's just like what you were just saying, as much as you love it, you might have to walk away from the thing that you love. That doesn't mean you have to walk away entirely, but it very much is like, make the choice that is rooted in the logical and the grounded, so that you can be stable and build. You can still have your heart-based choices, but it's just like right now, I think it's just a little bit raw, and allow yourself, like this question was about in the next year, like at the start of this year. So maybe for the months of November and December, it may not be necessarily a time that you usually do inventory, but maybe you want to do it now so that you can ramp up your fourth quarter and then get yourself on a better playing field for January. Because I know fourth quarter is usually like gift giving, but it's just like, it feels like in walking away or taking a different path from what other people are doing, and also like taking the emotion out of it, I think you're going to make a more solid choice for your business in the future.
Yeah. So she says, how does my business look at the start of the year? It looks okay.
It looks
look
okay.
A lot better if you keep these things in mind.
Yep. And I think that is like, I love that you were able to also give a reading on here, because I think this type of reading really helps show the differences between different readers, one, and two, show the reason why you wrote the book. Will you give me a reading? It's about seeing it from different people's perspectives. And it's just like, if I gave myself this reading, I would have interpreted it completely differently because I'm a different person and I'm also giving myself the reading instead of like having the conversation. And then also I do ask for people to give feedback, you know, like, how does that sound? So yeah. So Zuri, let me know how that works out for you. I think that's the reading for you. And thank you once again for the honor of reading for you, because, you know, sometimes when you do readings in a public forum, people are just like, but I want the free reading, but I don't want to be public about it. And it's just like, I don't know what to tell you then.
Right.
It's like, it has to be give and
all
take.
ways you want it. Yeah, exactly.
So Zuri says, lots of food for thought. May need to prioritize certain aspects of the business and shelve other projects until later. Yes. Thanks, Hillary. Thanks, Jenna. You're very, very welcome. I love that. So thank you. Thank you for participating in the mid-episode reading. And I know we don't want this episode to go on forever and ever and ever. Amen. But I do have a couple more questions. Well, not questions necessarily. Like, I know that you gave advice at the beginning of the book about finding the symbol that jumps out at you in a card to help perceive the meaning or interpretation of that card. And the questions that you asked, like, that's how I teach. So I was just like laughing about that. And then I love that all the chapters have activities, and sometimes more than one. Was that an intentional choice, or was that asked of you?
No, that was intentional. Yeah, like I wanted to have an activity, like a learning activity that really kind of capitalized on the feeling of the chapter in some way, so that people feel like they're on this journey with me. You know, as they're reading the book, they're also doing activities in the book that tie into what it is that we're discovering together. So I can't wait to hear people reach out to me and say, oh, I did this activity and this is what came up for me and this is what I did. I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, I love some of the, like, the names of the chapters too.
Oh, really?
Like, and then you look over the table of contents, and I was just cracking up laughing. Like, what was it? Judgment is a card, not a reading style. Like that, like chapter 12, that made me laugh. I'm just like, ooh, yeah.
If you're here for the snark, you'll like that.
Most people are here for the snark. So
yes.
yeah. So, you know, just is there anything else you want to say about your book or your reading style or anything else before we wrap up? And of course, you know, letting us know where you can find the book, what the book's name is, when it's coming out.
Yeah, so yeah, it's coming out next Tuesday, so November 8th. Though if starting November 8th through the rest of that week, Llewellyn is doing a 20% discount to celebrate its launch. So if you go to the Llewellyn website and you look it up, I think the code you could put in is Matlin20. And also if you go to willyougivmeareading.com, that'll take you to my page. And I have a really great little automation. So with some extra, including that right brain, I have a really awesome right brain, left brain tarot activity where that it shows you which side of your brain do you tend to lean in more as a reader. So I don't want to give away too much. It's really fun. And then of course that chapter, and I will be doing free book clubs starting in January, like the last Wednesday of the week. So you're invited if you sign up for it. And then we're going to come and talk about the book and, you know, I'll answer any questions. So there's a lot that I've kind of like put around the book to support it. And finally, you know, this is just my way. This is just what has worked for me. And I wrote this book feeling like in some ways, the traditional way of reading tarot or learning it doesn't work for everybody, you know, and some people it's just like I'm overwhelmed or I'm more of an intuitive reader and I feel maybe penalized for it. So my technique is not going to be for everyone, and that is really okay. I'm not trying to become the next guru of all readings. But I hope that it makes people feel more conscious about the kind of reader they want to be and how they're showing up for themselves and others as a reader, which I don't think is talked about enough. And that's really why I wanted to like lean into that into the book. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you
This
for
is
those.
amazing. This is amazing. And I know that you're doing a bunch of I think live streams next week, right? Or is it the
Yes.
week after?
Oh, yes. I'm doing a virtual launch party. It starts from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be a combination of YouTube lives or Instagram lives. Do I have that up on the website? Maybe I haven't done that yet, but if you go
You can
to
find it. I'm pretty sure you can find it on your gram of Insta,
yeah, my grandma
right?
Insta, like I'm gonna have Benabel hanging out with me at 10, just people that I like who kind of helped in a certain way. And so come and hang out with us. And then we have some more lives. I'm gonna have you on my live this coming up. And we're gonna talk
Yes.
about your book, which is really
Yeah.
beautiful, by the way. So
Thank you.
pretty. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
such a gorgeous and accessible, for people that are brand new or uncertain. So we're going to be talking about your book next time.
Oh
All
my
right.
God. Like I'm like I'm okay.
Aw.
I'm okay.
No,
It's my
it's I was
book,
like,
baby.
gosh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
I could see your book like in the airport bookstore, with a deck. Like someone's like, I've got a couple hours. Oh, well, I've kind of always want to read tarot, and like they can instantly get into it. I love what
Yeah.
you did with that. We'll talk about it. I'm like, see how I get really excited. I'm like, but anyways, we'll hold on to that. But
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
So when is that again? I can't I agreed to it
uh,
and then I don't remember.
I don't have
Was it this
my written in. I
I'll
think it's
look.
like
I'll
the
look. I'll look.
last
I'll look.
November, and last Wednesday, November, maybe. I'll have to check. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me. The date.
Last Wednesday. I don't remember either. Why don't I remember? That's so ridiculous.
Uh, I think it's the 21st. I have not like put them all in and sent all the assets yet. So
No,
uh
I think I agreed to it and then I didn't put
okay.
it down on my calendar, of course. We're professionals, I swear. I swear we're professionals. But yes, I will be on Jenna's socials and her live stream in the future talking about my book. It's
Yay.
a book exchange. It's a book live
Yes.
stream exchange. So thank you so much, Jenna, for coming on and spending time with us. I know it was longer than you expected. So
Oh,
go
it's fine.
enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
And yeah, I everyone needs to pick up a copy of Will You Give Me a Reading? And you can find out more about Jenna and her work. And there it is. It's so pretty.
Fun fact,
Um,
they misspelled
I
confidence,
know, I know. I'm like, how did I miss that?
but the proof it was spelled correctly. So I
See,
don't
this is what happens. And we're not, by the way, PSA, authors are not responsible. Authors are not responsible for that because sometimes it could be right, and then wrong. This is
right.
coming from a publishing background. It's right the entire time, and then something happens at the last stage, and it's just like, no. That was one of the first things that I saw in my book was I was flipping through. You can see it on my unboxing video. I'm just
Oh my
like,
God.
and there's a typo, and I'm just like,
Oh my God. I know.
no.
Yeah. So Melissa
Yeah.
Sanova's like, this is gonna maybe be like a you know,
Collector's item.
collector's item. Yeah, because they'll
Yeah,
be
it's
corrected.
limited
So.
edition.
Confidence.
Well, you're dancing. You're dancing with the
I know. I
confidence.
need to TikTok that somehow. I'll think about it.
Yeah, like tongue in cheek. Like, I mean,
Thank
that's
you.
that's
Yeah.
where it's fun. So everyone, make sure you follow Jenna on all of her socials, including her talk of tick. I love it, and I'm like responding and don't forget, she's going to be starting out that collective reading. So look out
Yeah.
for that on her TikTok.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
this weekend I'll do one, and maybe I'll tag you, and then you can start the stitch line. That'll be so
Okay.
much fun.
I'm looking forward to it. Yay. And then my husband's going to be like, what do you do? Like, what did you do? And I'm just like, I'm doing a TikTok. And he's like, oh God, not again. All right. Take care,
Thanks
Jenna.
for having me.
And
It's been nice hanging out with everybody. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I'll see you soon again. Yay.
Yay. JennaMatlin.com. All right. I'm going to let you go. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God, that was like such a fun interview. And I'm like looking at the time, I'm like, oh wow, we kept her for a while, but she's a good sport. And I thank you again for coming on the program, Jenna. And that was a really awesome interview. And I'm going to catch up on all of these comments because everyone was so enthusiastic. So Zuri was saying, thanks again to you both for such a great read. I really appreciate it. Oh, that's going to be so fun. I'm sure that was in reference to me going on her live stream. And Magic Blooms caught me getting a little bit choked up. Amanda says, love me a launch party that I can enjoy in my pajamas. Yeah, pajama party. Magic Bloom says this has been a wonderful, fun, enlightening, so much goodness. Thank you, Hillary and Jenna, so much. And I'm glad that you were able to come because you were worried you might not be able to make it. So I'm glad that you were able to come, Magic Blooms. Okay. 'Twas awesome. Hoping to see you live with Jenna covering your book. Yeah, my book. I've got 2 author copies. That's the only copies that I'm getting. 2 author copies, and I got them. And so one of them is in a pile on my bed right now. And the other one is in my bag because I literally have been walking around with my book in my bag going, it's here. You want to look at it? You want to look at my book? Look at my book. I might be a little bit annoying about it, but you know, until you write a book, like you can't judge me for being excited about having a book. Anyway, so it is the time in the episode where we do the weekend forecast. So I'm going to put my stuff up here. So what we do for the weekend forecast is I pull either one tarot card or an oracle card as the weekend forecast to get you through the weekend, prepared, not scared, and also kind of to tide you over. There's many opportunities to get readings on the program, including the astrology at the top of the episode, the mid-episode reading, which is a new feature that my friend Freya actually recommended that I do, and it's been very successful. So thank you, Freya. And then, as always, the weekend forecast. I think I've been doing the weekend forecast for a long, long time. I think as long as I've been doing the astro-weather at the top. It's nice to have a structure. So I am going to leave it up to you guys. Do you want a tarot card or do you want an oracle card? Let me know in the chat. I am going to hydrate myself. And also, by the way, it's November 4th. So are you guys participating in National Novel Writing Month? Because it's day 4 of National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo for short. More information about it can be found at nanowrimo.org. I am trucking with my word counts right now, and also Mr. Tarot by Hillary is very strict with me and will not let me have any fun until I get my word count done for the day, my daily word count, and I really, really appreciate that about him. So we've got 1 vote for oracle. We've got 1 vote for tarot card from Kathy. Oh, Kathy's here. I hope you watched the entire episode because you weren't commenting. So I hope you got to see the entire episode. And if you didn't, you can always watch the replay, Kathy. Do people know about NaNoWriMo? It's actually a very crazy proposition when you hear about it, but it's very doable. So it is a bunch of people deciding to write a 50,000 word novel in 1 month, and it happens in November. So I'll put that into the chat. Yeah, so oh, that's okay, Kathy. That's why the replays are available. So Magic Bloom says, oh, how interesting. That's adorable. LOL. Yeah, I'll show you. It's nanowrimo.org. And I've actually won it, and you can win it. You can win it by crossing the 50,000 word threshold in that month, and it is doable. You can do it, and the only reason I say that it's doable is because I've won it at least twice. So, and this is like maybe my eighth attempt. So, all right. So we've got, I think, 2 votes for tarot. 2 votes for tarot, 1 vote for oracle. Yeah, you're welcome, Magic Blooms. And I mean, it's not too late. It's really not too late. And sometimes they have stuff called like double up Wednesday or double up weekends, so you can catch up very quickly. And the reason why I say it's doable is if, as long as you adhere to like the daily word count, even if you're starting late, you can still catch up pretty easily. But 1,667 words in a 30-day month. So each day, 1,667 words in a 30-day month will yield a 50,000 word novella. So when you do the math, it can be very doable. And also, it's the reason why everyone does it in November, or the majority of people do it in November, because it's like this mass effort, like everybody's doing it, and you kind of like ride that momentum, and you have other people that are cheering you on, and you're cheering other people on. So yeah, I'm doing it. And I haven't done it yet today. So once I'm done with this broadcast, I probably am going to too crack a beer like Jenna was, and sit down and get my word count done. So, all right. So I think the votes are mostly for tarot. Should we do the Del Toro? Tarot Del Toro? And Katie is asking, what do people write about? It depends. You know, it's usually fiction. And I can say what I write about. So I think the second time I won was the first book that I'm writing in a series of books. And it's about a psychic consultant, I think. And she basically investigates crime scenes with her psychic powers. That's a really short synopsis of what it is. And the first book I won with during NaNoWriMo was book 1. I haven't even named it. And then the second one is the one that I'm working on right now is the sequel. So, and you know, she gets into various scrapes, and her romance life is a mess. And, you know, and also, you know, she reads tarot cards too. And sometimes when I'm stuck on a plot point, I'll just pull tarot cards, and it'll get me back on track. I also have the Visionary Oracle close to hand that Jamie sent me, and that is also helpful to pull a card from there, because it like presents plot points, or it presents character creation. And actually, I did a podcast on tarot for writing that might prove helpful if you want to embark on NaNoWriMo. And I also did a live stream episode on tarot for writing. Okay. So Del Toro is amazing. Crimson Peak is stunning. Katie says, I would read that book series. Okay. I have several books in my head and on paper, but none that are actually published, except for How to Read Tarot, which is nonfiction. But this is my degree. This is what my degree is in. I majored with, I have a degree in English with a creative writing emphasis. So I've been a writer long before I was ever a tarot reader. So, and sometimes I have different characters in my head, and they get onto the page, and then they start to do things that I don't want them to do. And only other fiction writers can really comprehend that, because it's just like, well, you wrote it. What do you mean you can't control your own characters? And I'm just like, clearly you don't write fiction. They never do what I want them to do. So technically, no, they're not published yet. I'm going to say yet. So, all right, weekend forecast. Let's go with the Tarot del Toro. Yes. Yes, tarot for writing. What a great use of the cards. That is one of my many podcast episodes. Oh yeah, by the way, Katie. Hey Katie, you have a podcast episode. I made it just for you. I didn't even mention it. I had like no time with the with everything that we were talking about with Jenna. I had no time to, and this is something that I thought in my head. I was just like, I don't want to message her right now because she's probably sleeping because of the time zones difference. But I'll mention it on the live stream that the newest episode of the Tarot by Hillary podcast is for Katie because she called in. But I figured you would figure it out. So Katie says, I saw. Good. Yay. So that was a really fun episode to record about the 8s and the 11 of the tarot, why is strength and justice switched in certain decks. So yeah, Katie is going to be listening to it later, but it is Katie's episode. You're going to hear her beautiful accent in the episode, and you too can contribute to the podcast by submitting your own questions at Anchor. Hold on, Anchor FM. Hold on. Anchor FM, anchor.fm/Hillary Perry Haggerty /message. So I'm going to drop that into the chat. But yeah, it's a good, but so Katie's episode is on strength and justice and why they are numbered 8 and 11 and why are they sometimes switched. The short answer is we don't actually know why, but Arthur E. Waite switched them. And I think at one point he wrote for obvious reasons or something like that. And it's just like, well, if the reasons were so obvious, then we would see them, but they're not that obvious. So, but yeah. Oh, and by the way, Zuri says, forgot to tell you, next Friday is my next live sale. Get your money ready. Get your money ready, folks. Oh, and Zuri, I think I told you about the wrong crystal. I think it's morganite. I think it was morganite that I was just like, why is everyone like so up in arms about like that particular crystal? And it's just like, be dangerous. This crystal is dangerous because it will change your life and you have to be ready for it. And I know it's a green stone and I think it's called morganite. I'll have to look. But like, if you look on again the Talk of Tick and you search like dangerous manifestation stone, that's the one that I was referencing. So if you happen to have it, I might buy it. All right, let's do no. First, let me show this. That's how you would submit your question for the Tarot by Hillary podcast. Or if you want to provide feedback, audio feedback, you can also do it there too. Okay. But yeah, there is a podcast episode on using tarot for writing and brainstorming and character creation and plot points. So let us do this. And oh, I'm about to make a mess. Ooh, I like the box though. I don't know if I've shuffled this yet. And oh, So cute. Look. I might have. I might not have. Okay. Moldavite. Thank you. Thank you. Moldavite. Sophia says Moldavite. It's impossible to get now, probably because of the damn talk of ticks. Libyan desert glass is my preferred of the two. Okay. Moldavite. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. This is driving me nuts. So Zuri's live sale is on YouTube, or the tube of you, at Yatsuri Shop at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you will look for my Moldavite because it's probably impossible to get now. Okay. Weekend forecast from the Tarot del Toro. Which means I can't really do a unboxing video, or I can do an unboxing video. It just won't be completely fresh. Also, I think it has been shuffled because this was a deck that was given to me by one of my tarot clients, an EFT client actually. And she was just like, I got this, I used it. It's fine. It's a fine deck, but I didn't really connect with it. Do you want it? Like, I have it in my car. I like ran into her like at a cafe, and I'm just like, okay, sure. She ran out to her car and she was like, here you go. I'm like, okay, thank you. Moldavite is wonderful. Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. What do we most need to know for this weekend from the Tarot del Toro? Oh. All right. It's oh. No, is this like a pip stack? It's a pip stack. All right. Non-illustrated pips. So it looks like this is the 9 of Wands. Oh, please don't tell me that there's no interpretation. I'm going to be so sad. Minor Arcana consists of 56 cards. Blades, goblets, wands, and discs. Okay. Really? Court cards. Yeah. When interpreting numerical cards, we must combine the symbolism of the suits, which we already know, with the meaning of each of the numbers. These meanings can be highly subjective, as can everything in tarot, and oftentimes differ according to the reader's tradition or instinct. My instinct is to have illustrated pips. It is up to you to bring your intuition to bear and interpret the numbers in the way that feels right. That being said, many interpretations follow the basic narrative structure you find below. These meanings represent a complete story cycle with several paths emerging on the second half. So they don't even talk about, they just talk about the numbers. They don't even talk about how the numbers are reflected through the wands. So this might not be a great deck for you if you are a little shaky on your minor arcana pips. So let's keep that in mind. This is not an unboxing. This is not an unboxing video of the Tarot del Toro, but I'm going to have to go back to my clients and ask, hey, is this the reason why you don't want to work with this? Got it. Ooh. Zuri says I have both. All right. Well, keep me in mind for both. Kathy says I like illustrated pips too. I think it's just easier to read with. I think, Kate, are you laughing at my reaction? I prefer my tradition is illustrated pips. Thank you very much. Anyway, I will read from here. I know what the 9 of Wands is from my own interpretation of the 9 of Wands. Actually, you know what? Ha 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 ha. I have an idea. So 9s are happy ending of the process and harvest, according to this, for the numerical, through the lens of the wands. Hold, please. I also know an expert on tarot. She, me, 9 of Wands. Turn your prayer book to, well, it's not out yet for most of you, so let us go to page 120 of my book, How to Read Tarot. The 9s of the tarot are almost there, final push, luxury, and anxiety. And for the wands, 9 of Wands would be preparation, protection, the wounded healer, and wariness. Those are my keywords for the 9 of Wands. Again, this was the hardest part of the book to write, because if you're going to your books or your tarot little white books or your companion books, your guidebooks, as the be all end all gospel on the tarot, that's going to stunt you from making that personal connection with your deck and finding your own personal meanings. So, you know, use these as a jumping off point. Again, here's what I said. Please use an RWS or RWS based deck when trying to learn the minor arcana. Put the meanings from the little white book and your interpretation side by side as you are learning. As your understanding of the tarot evolves, so will your own personal meanings. Like, what else? I think I said it, and yeah. And I say this on about companion books on 109. They start to become a hindrance when you find they conflict with your own intuitive hits or insights. It's a scary moment, but keep going. So, but yeah, those are mine. But yeah, here you go. 9 of Wands. There's nothing else to read on here, folks. So I have to go back into my own vision of what the RWS 9 of Wands looks like. Now, keep in mind that readers that learned with non-illustrated pips use a system where they kind of make that formula of here's the 9, here's the 9, here's the suit, which I guess they kind of reference here in the Tarot del Toro companion book. I don't read that way. And so if you're expecting me to read that way, I think you're just going to be disappointed. I don't read that way. So 9 of Wands is coming up for us for the weekend forecast. And I would say this is, I don't know. I feel like the 9 of Wands is trying to say to us that it is a good weekend to rest, to really pause before that final push phrase that comes out of my book. But it is this kind of like you're almost there, and just don't give up before that miracle happens, or don't give up before you see the finish line, because it's almost as if you're running a marathon and you're turning a corner, and you're about to turn the corner and it's the finish line, but until you turn that corner, the finish line is not visible. And so you may not think that the finish line is around that corner until you turn that corner. This is kind of what I'm getting from the 9 of Wands for this weekend, is just like, keep that steady pace, give yourself time for rest and reflection, hold your boundaries high as well, because I do find that the 9 of Wands can indicate boundary work. And I think that also equates very well to some of the themes that you guys were mentioning about this past week, a little bit possibly about Mars being in retrograde, but also Jenna was mentioning that too, where she was eating Red Hots and drinking beer. There was something weird about this week. So take that time and make sure you're keeping those boundaries high. And taking care of yourself, I think, is what the Nine of Wands is trying to tell us for this weekend. So Katie said, yes, I am laughing at your exclamation. Magic Bloom says, I prefer illustrated too, just more substance to them. Yeah, more to read, more to, catch your eye. Kathy is given the hearts, and Magic Bloom says, oh, this is hitting home for me deeply. Thank you, Hillary. You're very, very welcome. You're very, very welcome. All right, well, I think we have to wrap it up, folks, because we've been going for a while, and it wasn't a marathon. I think we were all having a good time while we were doing so. And I love doing interviews. This is like so much fun. I'm glad that I was able to figure out the software to allow for those interviews and allow for it to be pretty seamless. Next time around, I am going to make the little labels for guests. That's my one regret. Kathy's saying, I loved that you grabbed your book. I'm like, what did I write? But I mean, okay. So before we wrap up, that's part of the reason why I want people to take companion books and guidebooks and instructional books with the grain of salt, because I don't remember what I wrote about the Nine of Wands or the Two of Pentacles or the Eight of Swords or but I have, a back catalog of, I have the visual in my head. I know roughly what it signifies. And then I have sometimes an additional personal layer on top of that, where it's just like, oh yeah, at one point my client, it came up from my client, and I remember faintly, this is what it meant, or this is how I saw it, or, I've seen this card come up for multiple people and it's always meant this. But I try not to get locked into it always means this, because context is very important. Excuse the honking. But sometimes I'm not going to remember what I wrote. And I wrote those keywords at that particular time. So I know when I wrote them, spring of 2022. That's what I wrote them. That was probably one of the last chapters that I wrote, because it was just so difficult, because I had this whole anxiety about like, oh my God, there's going to be people that are going to be taking these words that I write on these pages as gospel and da-da-da. And at a certain point, I just had to be like, just write down what your interpretation is generally of what these cards are and let it go. Let it go, let it be, because, your job is just to write. Your job is not to temper everyone's expectations that is holding your book in their hand. My job was to write. I did. And sometimes those little white books were written by some old white dude 100 years ago, or 70 years ago, and they led a very different life and had a very different experience. And I'm sure some of their keywords that they wrote were very valid, and I'm sure they probably weren't, but they were human too. So keep that in mind. Magic Bloom says, boundaries. Yes, indeed. I need to remind myself this weekend as I need to rest and recover from life. Good. Rest, recover, keep those boundaries high. All right, I really do have to go, because I do have to eat dinner too. So once again, I am Hillary, professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. Thank you so much to Jenna Matlin for coming on the show tonight. Really appreciate you coming on. I can't wait to be on your show. Whenever it is, I will definitely let you guys know. And also to remind you that if you would like to book a reading with me, I do email readings, phone readings, Skype readings, Zoom readings, in-person readings, parties, both private and corporate. And also I am an EFT, emotional freedom technique practitioner. So if you would like to book a session for that, you can do so on my website here too. So thank you all very, very much for watching. I will catch you next week, same time, same channel, Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not quite sure yet what our episode is going to be about, but I will let you know when I figure it out. But we will definitely be having an episode. Have a wonderful weekend to you too. Enjoy and wait. Okay, hold on a second. I didn't upload my new end thing. Let me do so. Hope I downloaded it. Let's see. New. Yes, it's this one. All right. I have a new end screen. So I'm going to close this off. Hopefully it'll work. Magic Bloom said, thank you, Hillary. This was fabulous. Have a beautiful night, all. Missouri is saying, bon appetit. Bon appetit. And good night to everyone. Bye. Please work. Please work. Please work.